Welcome back, everybody. I am back on the Marketplace Maverick because that's all I got. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. The other week, that was my first time recording alone, and I did not like it. And it was awkward, and I'll have to work on that. So, I just brought back Omar. Omar, because I know Omar can just carry on a conversation without a problem. And so can I, just not alone. I need a little feedback. So, Omar, how's it going? The Gap King.
Fantastic, man. And we're gonna play around for those who are actually watching and not listening. My camera in the background are hilarious. So if you see me and don't see me, I'm really here. But
He's
yeah,
there.
listen, man, I'm fantastic. And it's funny too. You talk about talking by yourself. I'm about to talk by myself tonight. I'm doing something crazy. You talk about the community calls. We have really three sets of calls that we're doing right now. So I do a community call with Brian Limitless. That happens usually once ish a week. I have my own community call that definitely happens once a week. And then we have live streams, which are twice a week, Thursdays and Saturdays. And the live streams, they're just, you just wake up and whoever's there is there, and whatever we're talking about is what we're talking about. So we're talking about e-commerce at the very minimum, but what in e-commerce doesn't matter. We spent a ton of time talking about Temu the other day because that's the new wave. A bunch of us are going to try and start selling on Temu, which I always call it Temu, but apparently it's Temu.
Oh,
So
it's Timu.
I guess, right? My buddy sells on there and he's got a couple of account reps. So he always says Temu. So that's what I'm going with. I don't know. And so we were talking about Temu and we were talking about Whatnot because one of the guys on the call is starting his stream back. And I was telling him, like, hey, I want to start selling candy because I'm like super fascinated by the people who sell candy and snacks on there. And somehow we ended up watching Whatnot live streams on my live stream for like a half hour. Like it was 5 minutes before we were going off. And then we ended up watching 35, 40 minutes of live streams. And tonight I'm going to watch live streams because basically what I'm doing is trying to research, trying to understand more about how it works. And I'm basically going to be talking to myself. So it's not that bad. Like you get used to it, I'll say, John, because I live streamed. Technically, I wasn't by myself. There were people in the chat, but nobody was talking. So I was talking
Right,
to
right.
myself the other day when we were doing Gap Cash sourcing. But you definitely get used to it. And when you're not in the mood for people, it's fine. Like you had a topic, just run and go, and you'll be
Yeah,
good.
right, right, right. Yeah, it was because it's one thing to do a quick Instagram reel or like something on X. It's another thing. I'm talking to him like I started in my head starting to panic because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say after I finish what I'm saying right now. So, and then that started to get me in my head. But yeah, I didn't think about it beforehand. So, hey, here we are. And like you are Mr. Community. I always talk about community. Um, on this podcast. And I would say, this podcast is definitely going to go down, my journey as a wholesaler and as a brand direct. And I'm going to start getting into the weeds a little bit about how I am creating relationships with the brands that I'm working with now that I've been doing it for 7 months. And that big difference from like month one to, you're really your first year doing it. Even though I'm in my second year of selling on Amazon, I'm still in my first year of doing complete wholesale. So what doesn't change between wholesale or Temu or Whatnot or OA or RA or any of them is community and networking and meeting people and constantly learning and to know when you need to evolve, move to something else, try something else, or where you're in a position where I know where I want to be and now I need to lean into it. And I think the community brings a lot of that in what you're doing just constantly with those calls. I mean, how many people are you guys usually pulling a night on those, depending on what you're doing?
It depends. It really depends, and it's also a little bit harder to track now because it's crazy. So we were live on TikTok the other day. I think I had like 40, 50 people in there. We go live on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
every time we do the live streams. So we got people coming in and out of there. Could be 10, 20, 30 people. Then we'll have the regular community call or live stream and anywhere from 10, 20, 30 people and up, right? Then we have 40 people for Coda, 40 or more for Coda.
Sure, sure.
We did that.
Or if you get
But
Miles on there, you probably had a whole bunch of
oh,
people.
yeah, Miles, we had a ton of people on there from Miles. And we probably had like 70 or something like that. And today we did an earlier stream, right? It's 6 o'clock, right? This is a really difficult time to have a stream because
Hmm.
that's when people are coming home,
Dinner, yeah.
kids, dinner, shower, all that stuff that's happening right after work. So I think we had 5 people on the live stream, which the live stream, so we stream the community calls on YouTube now. So we had 5 people on YouTube, and we had, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 people on the actual video call itself. So probably somewhere between 10 and 15 people were on that call. Now, generally speaking, so we're gonna have calls at 9 o'clock. And so I like to have people live because they get to ask questions. It's a great opportunity to interact with people. But in some cases, like I'm gonna do a call with Tony. Actually, I need to text him because we didn't set a time yet. We're gonna do a call, and it's just gonna be me and him one on one. And so that's really optimizing for afterwards, right? Because all of these calls are video on demand. And so
Sure.
I know, because I'm having so many calls, that you can't make them all, or you can't, be on for the whole time. So we always have it on demand. And what we started doing is we make recap guides for every one of the calls, especially the ones that are important. Like today, how to find a prep center in 2026. It's
Yeah,
not only
that's a
just
good.
because, John's cool and he does OA and brand, I mean, he does wholesale and brand
It's a
direct.
challenge.
It's also something very specific that people are looking for on, a broad level. So we'll do a really solid guide about the call. So yeah, I mean, it's a really fantastic opportunity. And selfishly, I'm doing a lot of calls about stuff that's important to me, and things that I'm trying to figure out in e-commerce. And then also because I talk to a lot of beginners, all those topics are coming up, and it's like, well, oh, how do you find a prep center, or when does it make sense to get a prep center? And I'm like, well, I don't have a prep center, but I know this person, that person, and that person. And I was like, it's just like, let's stop thinking in theory and let's bring somebody on to have the conversation. The next big thing that I want to talk about is VAs. And people always ask about VAs. There's services you can pay up to $3,000-4,000 for. You can find
That's what
somebody
I
on
did.
onlinejobs.ph. You can get them for
Worth every single penny. If that's
and
what your goal is. Like for me, it was worth my VA cost me $5,000. But I have somebody who I do not have to worry about monitor it. Anything in the back end of Amazon, I do not touch. Don't have to. Health concerns, being brand direct and being all FBA, there is not much admin. I don't run into IP complaints because I'm buying from brands. I'm in their registry and shipping, all that stuff. It's all FBA. So I don't get messages from buyers. So so far, it seems like really simple admin wise. I do high price stuff. So I don't have a lot of ASINs. I don't have a huge catalog. That's part of the reason why I love doing high price stuff, because less gets lost. It's just easier to track. It's less chaotic. Instead of a pallet being 10,000 units, a pallet is 500. But it's to have the community. Like every time I've had guests on here because I want to learn from them, and it's a good way for me to ask them questions
yep.
because I want to learn, how to do what they're doing. And it's just a constant learning to have a community to go along and do it with, like with a community. And especially with OA wholesale, that changes, but like with OA and RA, source together and like find stuff together. It's a different model than wholesaler brand direct or private label. And I
Yeah.
think it just makes it fun.
100%. And I think for me, and I had a podcast earlier, the community call at 6, and now we're doing this tonight. And so I've talked about this a couple times today, but one of the things that I think is important as a through line for the community is really your network. And
Yeah.
somebody asked me, like, oh, what are the top 3 softwares you should get as a beginner? And I was like, forget the software, get a network first, because the network can do what those softwares will never be able to do.
Yep.
You can learn how to use a software. That's great. But it's going to take you a ton of time to get experience. Like, I don't care what masterclass you take, what guru you get, what mentor you get, you're going to have to get experience. And you can forego a lot of that stuff by having the right network. Missing questions, not missing questions, being able to answer questions, missing mistakes. If somebody else has made the mistake, you don't have to make that mistake because they've made it already. So your network is really important. And a community call is really, for me, just an extension of that network. So what I've been able to do is to bring my network to everybody else, right? So all my friends, all the people I know, they come to these calls. And I was explaining to somebody today how my network slash community made me $300 in like 15 minutes. And we
Hmm.
were sitting on the phone and we were talking about whatnot actually, and he was trying to help me get a distributor for candy. And at the end of the call, he's like, "Oh, how sales going, blah blah blah, do you sell this product?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I got three behind me right here or whatever." He's like, "Oh okay." I was like, "Yeah, I got to send them out to FBA." And he's like, "I don't do that, just FBM them." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're right." He's like, "No, just put them on, they're gonna sell." I put them on and they sold, all three of them, in minutes, and they were $80 a piece. Well, just like that. Right now, listen, was I going to sell them? Of course I was going to sell them, but I wouldn't have that $300 in my pocket if that guy didn't just tell me to do that, because I
Right.
wasn't considering it. They were sitting here waiting for me to ship them
To,
out to
yeah,
Amazon.
go through the process. Right.
Right.
Yeah. There's just, I couldn't even count the amount of times. Like, there we are. There was every single app I have or software I have because of community. It was time for me to, I was using Sellerboard. Sellerboard was fine, but I needed to see like an app that connected to Amazon, that talked to QuickBooks, and was really, really good at getting like SKU level real profit, because being like, I need to see exactly what I'm making now. And, I went with this company called like Connect Books. Now they're $300 a month, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of accounting software. But because like I talked to two guys that do, 12 million a year, and they're like, we outgrew three softwares until we found Connect Books that handles everything for us. It took a while to set up, but like, and these guys do 12 million a year. So I knew like going into it, I was like, I knew I had the right company, and this is the last thing I got to get. Like, there's no way I would have known that without just talking to people. Like, a couple other people mentioned it. So I knew going in, like, same thing with the ad agency. It was referred to me. Like, on my LinkedIn, do you know how many ad agencies there are?
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. Everybody's an ad agency, and they all tell you they can do amazing things and increase your business by 20%. And all their websites look professional. They're ad agencies.
Yeah. I used to work at one. I'm familiar for sure.
Yeah, so it's like, and the one like I found through three different people that all use the same one, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've had nightmare ad agencies. Found these guys, they've been with them for like 2 years." So like, I knew going in, like, they kind of already had my trust. Not trust, but at least like I was open minded. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to shop around to four different ones because they're all generally the same price, and like they're fantastic. So, and that's all from networking.
Right. And that, so effectively, and this is the issue, right? Because what I optimize for is the beginner. I don't know why, but it's just kind of where I fell in. I think it was part of, what I was doing networking when I started. I just ended up talking to a lot of people who were beginning in the game. So I would hear a lot of these questions and they would ask me beginner questions. And so I just started making posts and content around beginner stuff. So I often optimize for that. And what I get based on that is, like, if you're a beginner and you know nothing about Amazon, where do you even go, right? Everything, like I said, I've said this multiple times today. Amazon is like poker. It's an easy way to make a hard living, right? Anybody can do it, but there is complexity. And when you get started, it's difficult. And
Oh,
so I've been trying to do is say, all right, what are all of the problems that you're going to come against when you start doing e-commerce? This, that, sourcing, gating, networking, meeting with managers, scaling, credit, all of this different stuff. And I said, all right, no problem. We're going to do a call about all of these different things. And in some cases, multiple calls. We got multiple calls about Walmart, multiple calls about scaling. We got multiple calls about funding. We got ungating calls. Now we're doing, the prep center. We're going to do the VA. So all the different things that you're coming up against, I'm making calls for. And so
right.
if I have a seven-figure seller that's in my network, you're probably not going to have one, because who are you? You just started 2 days ago, right? But now you can go and talk to the seven-figure seller on my call. And it was something clicked into my head in Q4 when we started. I don't think you probably didn't get a chance to experience it, but in Q4 it was
Mm.
insane. It's
Yeah, yeah. No,
Q4
I
madness.
just watched it.
But what ended up happening is, and I don't know why, I got some inspiration from a podcaster that I listened to, but we did, I think I should figure this out one of these days, but we streamed every night for at least an hour, all the way up to 3.5 hours from the end of November to December 23rd, only to December 23rd because we couldn't do the 24th because somebody was flying to Thailand or something. But we had live streams every day, and we realized that there was so much value there, and people were, they were like, hey, you can't stop doing this, we have to do this. And
Yeah.
it's not about me, like this, none of these calls are about me,
Right. Right.
about the people on the call. But what we realize is you have people on the call who've sold nothing. You have one person on the call who yesterday sold $33,000 in one day. Where in the hell is this dude who sold nothing going
Right.
to meet that guy? And that
Right.
guy, he's not a jerk. He's answering questions. And by the way, he's learning. There was an example. So this guy, he actually hit $1 million in sales on our live stream, which was nuts, right?
That's wild.
But he goes, so we're talking, we were talking about, it was Tony's, those little musical
Yep.
boxes or whatever. So a lot of people were selling Tony's in Q4. I couldn't figure it out. I sold like 5 of them, whatever. People were getting rich off those, but he had, no, it wasn't Tony's. It was Fugglers. And he didn't know about Fugglers. And they were like, hey, listen, you got to sell these Fugglers. And he took the tip. 2 days later, he comes back. He had made 5 grand. I'm just like, what? What? No. He made, I think, 1,500 in 2 days. And then the next week he had made 5 grand. And I was like, this guy who's already making 7 figures, if he can come on this call
Yeah, you
with
never know.
little people like me and nobodies who've sold nothing, and obviously I don't mean nobodies, they've sold nothing, and he's learning, right? That kind of formula is crazy, where you could bring 7 figure sellers and 0 figure sellers together. Because think about it, if you're a lawyer, like, what are you doing hanging out in a bar with a day one law student? It's just
Right.
like, you guys have nothing in common. What are you talking about? It
Yeah,
just
like
doesn't fit.
there's nothing for that day one. He can't offer him anything, like business wise, But you never, like, yeah, you just never know, like, who you're going to learn from, like, what connection you might make in 3 years down the road might give you an opportunity to make a lot of money. You just, like, you have no idea. You don't know
It's
which way it's going to go. And it's fun. I just, for the first time, I am now the guys at Operation Amazon, Brad, and I'm hosting the 7 p.m. Monday call for the guys that are in their school every single week
Oh,
now.
look at that.
Like,
Yeah,
they asked me to
tell
do
me
it.
about that. Because
They asked me to do it, and I was like, yeah. I was like, I mean, I can talk. They're like, well, listen, like, you've been doing it for almost a year. And, like, a lot of their wholesale community is brand direct, but they're new to doing it, for one, and most people that are in it are new, not new to Amazon, but new to brand direct and kind of switching over. So, and it is true, because I think these two guys do, I think, about 500K a month together. And it is true. Sometimes when you hear of someone making 500K, it's like, yeah, cool, but, like, it's just not realistic to me right now. And by me hosting a class, and it's kind of like I'm doing more than that. Or actually, no, some of these guys are doing the same numbers that I'm doing. They're just still doing OA. So it's like, I think I'm, like, a little bit more relatable. And really what we talk about is sales. I was like, I'm not the guy to ask high-end questions of Amazon or back-end stuff or how to do things. Like, I'm kind of here to give you the value I've had for 25 years and now been doing it at Amazon. I've had to create relationships, show value for, like, long-term things, and, really had to talk to brands on the phone, switch them to, like, Zoom calls, do what other sellers don't do, how to overcome obstacles, like, all that sort of stuff. And because that's what I excel. That's the whole reason why I switched to wholesale and brand direct, because I knew this is where my strong point is, personality wise, and just what I like to do.
And where are you in that school already?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah. So I've been in their school, then they were like, why don't you host a call? Because they're super busy too. I was like, I'm never doing anything Monday night. Yeah, I host a call there and pretty much just talk sales. Not really any of the process on Amazon. Like, Operation Brad and Brandon have done a fantastic job at putting together, like, this roadmap. And when I say a roadmap of, like, how you're talking about all the things, So
Yeah.
they've had it professionally done. And for brand direct wholesale, anything you can think of is there, from just anything, and a video to go with it. And it's something that it took these guys a year to build. And, and they did it professionally. They did a really good job. And it's a good group because they're kind of new. So you get very personalized, treatment. Like Miles's program is great for a beginner, but you're not talking to Miles on the phone every day. Yeah. These guys, it's more, they're doing a lot of calls, or I think they hop on calls like with a lot of their students all the time. So, but yeah, I got asked to do that. It was like, cool. Yeah, I'll do it. You never know. Just start talking and I learned stuff from everyone else.
Right. What you'll find, it depends on your goals, right? But for me, awareness and exposure are, kind of part of what I'm working towards. If more of that is in your kind of future, and you want that, you'll see that as you continue to do the podcast, you continue to meet people, and do more to expose yourself on social media, those opportunities will continue to come. And it's interesting too, because I'm curious, like for you, like do you keep, and it's not what we were necessarily talking about, but do you keep what you do on YouTube separate from your Instagram on purpose, or is that just
I haven't really figured out how to. No, I mean, I have links. It's like I have I don't have a Instagram page for this podcast.
Right, and that's what I mean. And I'm not like oh
yeah. So I just kind of promote it, but I promote both ways, I guess. But they're not. I've never, everything I've done with anything I've done on social media here is just completely organic.
No. I understand. But what I'm saying is so remember, we started talking about like pod strategy and
yes,
drive more views and things like that. And so you have all those clips. Nothing needs to be created. Like that's you could do 10, 20 posts a day, right? And get additional exposure. Just by posting stuff that you already have, but you don't do that. And I was just like, oh, like you do that on purpose, or
I do post. I should probably post more on Instagram, because Instagram I don't post.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah.
You
don't do that on Instagram. Or
no, like I do post, but just not. Yeah, not a ton.
No, but I mean, and like if you look, like I'll see you post like, oh, episode 35 is out.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's how I do it.
Where the hell is it? Like I know I can go to Spotify, but I consume it on YouTube. But for a person who only knows you on Instagram, like it'd be cool to have those clips there, just as
right. Yeah. No, it's definitely something like the social media thing, that using the phone. Like I've gotten a lot better at it, but it's not a natural thing for me. Mm-hmm. So it's like I don't feel awkward doing it anymore. I like doing it. I see what the benefits that it brings. It's one of I do the same thing on LinkedIn. That's completely just business. But I do the same thing on LinkedIn. I just kind of Instagram followers, I'm about to hit 1,000. I looked the other day, I was at 980. I'm like, oh,
there you go, baby.
I'm going to hit 1,000. I'm like, I looked at my personal one. I have 72 friends. I'm like, well, that's not anywhere close. But go. It's cool. And I wouldn't be where I am today without networking. I put in the work to get where I am, but it's the networking that has really given me the opportunities to know what I'm doing to go out and find the business.
Yeah, if hard work was a thing, then everybody'd be rich, right? Mm. Who doesn't work hard, right? But who do you know who can help you, who can give you an answer, blah blah blah. I just think about my buddy Aquino, and he's a Temu dude that we were talking about earlier, and he was like, hey, look, this thing is on clearance at Walgreens. It's a $140 thing, and it was selling for $50. What? And it was selling on Walmart for up to $105. And by the time the clearance was done, we were getting it for $38 with tax. It was absolutely nuts. And I sold 31 of those in less than a week. Why? Because this dude just told me. And that's the power of networking. It's just a guy, John, met this dude randomly in a grocery outlet. Didn't know him from a can of paint. And I saw him. I thought he was my boy Brian. I saw his cart. I didn't see him. Brian's white. This dude's black. They don't look alike, but their carts were full. So you see a full cart in a store, it's a reseller, right? That's what you think. And then I look up. I'm like, oh, that's not him. That's some other dude. And then we're clearing half a pallet of, I don't even remember. Oh, it was sauce. And he walks by. He looks back. And then he comes back. He's like, do you guys sell on Amazon? He was like, yeah. And then we've been friends ever since. But sharing leads and stuff like that. And that's the type of stuff that it's a game changer for you. One thing I'll suggest, since you're about to hit 1,000 followers, like for me, I was like, oh, 1,000 followers was a big deal because I really had no followers, and it started to kind of grow before I even like, oh, I'm getting followers, and then all of a sudden I'm at like 900, and I went for a push at the end of the year, and I ended up getting to 1,000 followers, which ultimately was just like one of those things where it's like you can't stream live on Instagram until you have 1,000. So that was really a reason why I wanted to do it. But what I ended up doing, which I didn't do personally, so you can definitely do this because you have a VA, and it just finished today. Oddly enough, I DM'd every one of my followers a personal note like, hey, so happy that I have you as a follower. Just wanted to do this thing over the next 30 days. I'm going to DM all of my followers, and if you need any help, I'm here for you. That's it. Just wanted to say hello. And I was looking at the numbers, like people are still responding as of today, but like 10% of people had responded, which to me is like a crazy number. Just like a random DM. They might not even all go through. People don't even check their DMs like that. But a lot of people were like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is a great idea. Appreciate you thinking about me. Because obviously it's generic. It doesn't even say their name. But they're like, wow, like I appreciate you thinking of me in that way. And people were really touched. So that, that could be something you could do just to do some outreach. And again, I didn't do it. My VA did it. She was doing 35 a day, not to hit any limits or whatever, but it worked out really well.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's so many ways that I look at it as I want to keep on doing the podcast. I enjoy doing it. I keep on kind of doing the posts on Instagram here and there, and I do a little bit on X, but not much, and keep on growing my business. And when I'm, my real goals within 2 years, get to where I want to be, steady, where I don't have to scale anymore, and then I can manage, increase my margins, cash flow will go up, and that's when I want to get to the point where I can manage this business where I'm not really growing it. And that's when I can, rethink if I, want to start doing speaking or something like that, start making I would probably be somebody where I would have a VA do most of it for me. Because I'm never going to be good at editing all that stuff. Like even these podcasts, like my VA, it's not, it costs like $10 or something, but like, or $20. And like he comes in and like edits everything, cuts up all the shorts for me. I could have somebody do that more for me on like social media. And one day I probably will. But like right now
you're never supposed to. Those are low value tasks. You're never supposed to do that. It doesn't mean anything, right? You're the person who comes up with the idea. You're the person who comes up with the strategy, and somebody else implements it, and then you see the benefits. That's the important part.
Right. So, but then in my head right now, I'm just like, nope. You need to just keep on making phone calls and selling and growing. That is the other thing, because it's a hard time. I always talk about this, when to put on the television and when to like open up, and I'm definitely in the tunnel vision. I mean, with Amazon, you always have to be aware and evolve with Amazon, but it's just like, no, I'm not trying anything else. I'm not like when I first started doing wholesale, like I opened up a Walmart account. I'm like, maybe I'll do some Walmart, maybe I'll do some TikTok. I'm like, no. At some point, diversifying is a good idea, and I would do it because it would be very easy for me to be like a brand, because I have many brands. They'll be like, can't sell on Amazon, but we don't have a Walmart seller yet, but they're not on Walmart. So I would have to launch a product on Walmart, and I'm just like, no.
FTT, baby.
Yeah, so, it's
like TikTok.
Yeah, or like TikTok, I'm like, you know what? Not that I won't do those things at some time, but for right now, for the next year, it is put your head down and grind and just do it. Like first of the year, I got line of credit. I had to get the finances set, and now it's like, okay, you just start working and then like pop your head up and you hit 200K a month.
There we go. Let's go, baby. I remember when the goal was 100K. So
yeah, well, I'm still not at 100. Oh, I'm very close to 100 now. But like I've just taken like, nope, just go slowly, be picky with what you buy, but everything you buy works, or most of it does. And that's how it's starting to like turn into. The margins keep going up. But until you stop scaling, you're never going to have cash flow.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's the biggest thing. Is like if you keep scaling, you will always you'll be paper rich. Once you stop scaling, if your margins are good, like give it 3 months and all of a sudden you're going to be like, there it is. And that's where I want to get to.
I agree.
That's my 2026 and probably most of 2027. But after that, and that's when I can manage. I can do my real estate. That's where I want to be, where I don't, it's never going to be passive because you're always going to lose accounts. You're going to have to get new. It's never going to be passive, but it will turn into, and especially brand direct, will start to run itself. So
I
we're
agree.
just,
Yeah. That's what we add on good people, employees, systems, things of that nature. And that's the wave, right? And that's where you get that real freedom when you're
yeah.
not.
Because the systems are like, when you're scaling, you have to constantly change your systems because your old system isn't working. You're doing more. So, like, hey, seller board isn't enough for me right now. I need to go to this. So you're changing your system. You're changing your system over and over again until you really stop scaling. And then you can kind of lock things in more. But it's still fun. I mean,
100%.
for a job, and again, networking and doing this sort of thing is what makes it fun. Like, part of the day, I'm just grinding in front of like my computer. It's nice to like talk to other people. I mean, I can talk to my girlfriend, but she does not know what I'm talking about.
That's and listen, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually have another question, so I'm going to write it down so I don't forget it. But that's another reason why we started the live streams. Right? And so, as you know, new people would come in and out all the time. It was great. And so I would have to explain it to people like, why are we on this live stream? What the hell is this about? Like, why is a bunch of random people sitting here on YouTube live streaming?
Right.
And really it's the same standard conversation. This is also why I think networking is important because you are going to find yourself one day, someday, right? Like if you have a 9 to 5, this is not as important. But if you are doing this, and you're trying to scale it out of your 9 to 5, or if it's a big side hustle, or if you do this full time, you are going to find yourself at some point and probably a lot feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, like nobody understands what you're doing. Like, what's that
No.
little
You're
Amazon
still on
thing?
Amazon?
What is that? Your
Yeah.
girlfriend is not going to understand what an IP
No.
component is, why there's like 10 returns at your door. It just doesn't make sense to most people in your life unless they're in e-commerce. And so that was another reason why we started the live stream is because everybody's grinding like all day. If you have a full-time job, you're coming home, you're doing more work on top of it, but you have nobody to express yourself to.
Right.
If you hate yourself today because Amazon sucks, or if you had a really great day and you did X, Y, and Z and you can't tell your girlfriend or you can't tell your mother or whatever, like who are you going to talk to? And that gets really lonely really quick. And we were talking earlier about why people quit Amazon. And that's one of those things, right, where you don't have somebody to talk to. It's complicated. You don't have to answer their questions, venting. Like you're at work with somebody, you can talk about your stupid boss because they have the same stupid boss, right? But who do you talk about? Like I always bring this up. My man Paolo got the Jordans return with poop on them. Like, how do you explain to somebody that somebody sent you a box of sneakers with poop on them? How does that even make sense? Nobody's going to understand that except for me or John or somebody else who does the same thing, right? And so that's another reason for community is because it's going to be very hard unless you're like All Out Thompsons who are husband and wife and they work in the same business.
Team. Yeah.
They get it.
It's some of the bigger wholesalers, they might actually they start having their own warehouses and going to work. That's different. Like I didn't realize in the year of 2025, I checked, I only drove my car 8,000 miles.
Right. You were
like I was like, wow. I usually was like a 15K like because I was driving to work all over. I was out all day long doing stuff, and now I'm just like home, other than like going intentional places. But 8,000 miles, I'm like, wow, I have never driven that little of mileage, and it'll get lonely, and no one understands what you're talking about. Just like my girlfriend is in finance. Like sometimes she works from home sometimes too. And I'll hear her like on one of her calls and she's talking another language, just like I'm talking another language, like we don't know it. So we don't bother even trying. It's easier that way. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the other question I have for you, we were just talking about networking. Are you going to MSC this year? Miami Sellers Conference?
Yeah. I'm going this year.
All right. There you go.
Last year I was going to, but I just started selling and I was like, no, but this year I'm there. I'm like, I am not missing it.
Yeah. It's funny too. Anybody who's watching this, you don't have to go, obviously, but it is a mistake to think that because you're a beginner, you shouldn't go. because
Right.
I met a woman, and I know there were more, but because they raised their hand at one point during the conference, but I met a woman who hadn't even started selling yet, but she came to the conference, and actually she sought me out, which I thought was hilarious. It's like there is so much value to starting with a network, starting with people.
Yep.
It's everybody in the industry, Miles, Easy, Avery,
Yep.
all these different people who are in the game, and they'll talk to you, right? And imagine meeting Michael Jordan when you're a college player, or LeBron James when it's your first year in the NBA. Like, it's just, the stuff
Yeah.
just does not happen. But in this industry, you can, and these people are kind. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. I do wish they made the Miami Sellers Conference like this time of year, because I could go for leaving the Northeast.
Well, I mean, it's close enough. Like, I mean, it. I feel like it was cold when I went down there last year in
It
May.
is. It'll still be nicer because I know where I am. Like May, I'm not in shorts and flip flops yet.
Nah, yeah. I remember a couple years ago, I took my kids to Legoland. It was May 8th, I think it was, and it snowed while we were out there for
Well,
like 20 minutes. It was
better
freezing.
not snow. I am taking the kids to Disney for April vacation, so like it's gonna have to stay. At least I can get out of the cold for that.
I was in New York, so yeah, it's not gonna snow down there, but yeah, for sure.
No. As long as it doesn't snow down there. I've never been to Disney World. I'm going for the first time.
Congratulations.
No.
I haven't been either, so
yeah, I don't really have any urge to go, but it's not up to me. So we're going. Right? It's going to be a good time. Well, thanks, Omar, for coming by again.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you more about. I'm going to get some more guests on here.
Yeah.
But I think you might be like the regular guest.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, the regular guest.
I had a rough weekend, so I apologize for taking so long to get back to you. But listen, whenever you need somebody to come on, we could talk about whatever community specific topics. I try and find myself knowledgeable in a bunch of different stuffs. Anything in particular you're looking to talk about, or kind of chat about, I'm happy to be here, man. But I appreciate.
I'll make sure I put all your links in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll stick those in there. And so make sure you like, subscribe, keep on listening. Do I still call myself the Marketplace Maverick? Do I have to take the S off?
Listen, what I would say is that if I'm giving you advice for the show, I mean, you could go either way. I mean, I see value in keeping the name because that's what the name has been.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I could look at it is to say that the Mavericks are the people who are on the show.
That's
right?
true.
But if you're going to be a solopreneur all the time, then obviously you're not a Mavericks. You're a Maverick.
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, if the show is about you, right, then it's Maverick, right? Now I think about, like, for me.
Well, hey, the logo, I'm redoing it. I'm putting just me on there.
Right.
I'm putting just me on there.
And so it depends, I would say, because if I think about my community calls, the way I talk about them is it's us, right? Yeah, I'm the host, but it's not about me. It's about us, right? And so if this is a show about you and the knowledge that you bring to the community, then there's no S. But if it's about us, then there's an S.
All right.
It's what you want to do with it.
Well,
man.
Stay tuned. We will figure out which way I'm going to go with that. I'm going to have a new logo. We're just going to spiffy things up a little bit. But until next time, thank you guys. I will probably see you next week on another episode of the Marketplace Mavericks.